This is going to be my video review of a script era dark coffee brown large Saddleback classic briefcase. So if you've watched my channel before, you know that I've been a little tough on Saddleback, specifically about this era briefcase when I talk about that this is about the period where the quality seemed to have started to slip off a little bit. And I wanted to show you a video review of a well-executed script era briefcase so you guys can compare it to my video review of the one that I had a lot of trouble with. Couple important things to realize. These briefcases came out pretty close in time, and this gets to the root of my biggest concern about Saddleback, which is the high variability within the product lines, even within the same era of production period. For a while, they were producing bags that were consistently great quality and doing really well, and quality started to slip, and you started ending up with bags like this with variability with really well-produced bags of the era, and as my previous video showed, some poorly produced bags of the era. So this one has been my everyday carry for a while, so you can see it has actually gotten a good amount of wear and tear, has a couple scratches on the surface, has been used very, very well and kind of abused a little bit. And this has been the bag that has essentially replaced the one that I had sent back to Saddleback, and they said that there was nothing wrong with it. So that bag I ended up selling, and now this is the bag I use on a daily basis. So starting like all my reviews, I'm going to start off with a strap. So let's start off with hardware here. This hardware, same thing. You have some dog leash clasps here, and you have a dog leash clasp over here as well. Very solidly made, pretty tough. Seems like very, very nice hardware. You have the same strap system holding the belt in place, which is basically a fixed slider here to hold the belt, and then many, many belt holes for you to choose from to adjust the length. And then you have these two shoulder pads, which have the neoprene on the inside. One is used a little bit more than the other, so you can see that this one's used slightly more. I tend to just keep one shoulder pad on my shoulder while the other one is behind my shoulder. So in case I need to shift it or anything, it's there. But I don't like having two shoulder pads, because if you put your shoulder right in the middle between the two, you lose out on the padding of both shoulder pads, and you end up with a less effective padding system. So I think most people end up choosing one or the other, and some people even just remove one pad and only use a single pad at a time. So what makes this particular bag different from my previous bag? Well, we'll start off very simply with one major difference, which is if you look back on my old video reviews, you will see my criticism of the hardware. That as I read the response from Saddleback, they made it very clear not every bag was made of stainless steel. And the question was, which ones were, which ones weren't, how do you tell them? And the email very clearly said that if you had an O-ring here without any breaks or welds, that it was clearly then a stainless steel era bag made of stainless steel hardware. Interestingly enough, of all the bags that I own, this is the only one that I'm with a decent amount of certainty can say is made of stainless steel hardware. Even my older ones, going back to the 2 rivet, had the welds in place. So this is a rarity. I've owned many a Saddleback bags, and it's taken me a while to find one with all stainless steel hardware like they have here. Now, what does that translate into everyday use? Some people may argue, stainless steel, not stainless steel, it's all still tough hardware, looks good. Well, if you remember my review, one of the comments that the customer service representative said was that Dave had made the decision that he wanted hardware that breaks down faster and wears down faster and looks better. Kind of goes in direct opposition of stainless steel and how it kind of ages. This is a bag that I've used a lot, and prior to buying it was probably used a lot by its previous owner. And if you look here at the dog leash collar, there's been very minimal wear. And if you look, it's only right here, just a little bit of wear along the metal. And if you look underneath it, even with that flaking off, it's still shiny underneath. Where in my previous bag, once the plating wore off, all you were able to see was the darker metal underneath. And it's the same thing with this dog leash collar as well. You can see that it has a little bit of wear, not a whole lot. And so after years and years of use, not like My other bag, which was brand new, used minimally and suddenly started to develop this wear. And the metal underneath continues to be of the same high quality. So I think that says a lot about the hardware choices, that though Dave wanted to create hardware that wore down quickly, there's still a very clear difference between hardware in which he made with the stainless steel and hardware in which he made with unknown metals. So just starting off the bat, you know that the hardware in this bag is a lot better. To the average everyday user, that may not be a big deal. To people who collect these bags and use them a lot and kind of buy and sell them on a regular basis like me, it does make a difference. Now the leather. If you look here on the leather, this is how I think Saddleback meant for their leather to look initially when they developed this. In my previous bag, you have that plasticized leather, right? It basically looked like it was made of plastic. In my older bags, if you look at my older chestnut bag reviews, it's a much softer touch material, but that also meant that it wasn't as tough. And this, you get a kind of compromise in between. There's still a little bit of that plastic quality to the leather, which means that it's a little bit tougher. It looks a little bit more professional. It looks like it's treated leather that's going to last a little while. At the same time, it doesn't have that plastic sheen to it. It has a little bit of shininess, but it doesn't look like plastic. It very clearly looks like leather and picks up scratches like leather. And it ages like the way a leather bag would, while with my kind of plasticized bag, any scratches it picked up, it just looked so out of place. It didn't look right because the leather looked like plastic and the scratches looked like a response to a scratch on a full thickness high leather. And the two just didn't work well together. This, I think, works really well together. I think this is the pinnacle of what the Script Era logo with the tougher leather and the better hardware was supposed to be. Unfortunately, not every bag was created this way. Now, how about wear on this bag, right? You know, one of the areas I complained a lot on my previous bag was the holes for the buttons or for the belt buckle. And I was told by them that it was regularly expected wear. If you look at this center strap, this is clearly far more worn than the strap on my previous videos. And I want to show you back here, well-treated, well-made leather. This is actually how the wear along usage of the strap is supposed to look, which is you have stretching of the hole, but you don't actually have cracking at the site of the hole, which is the big difference. In my previous bag, this was cracking. You can see cracks kind of going down the sides on either side. And then you saw the leather starting to tear and separate with the top surface coming off. That is not present in any of these, even though this has been used far more often. And you can see has been bent back and forth far more often. This does not have the same characteristics as the previous one, which leads me to suspect that though they may not call it something that can be warranted by a claim, there's a clear difference between the wear pattern of these holes as compared to my previous bag. The other difference, not a single stitch has frayed on this bag after continuous usage for a prolonged period of time, while in the previous bag, after about 1 month of usage, the stitches started to fray. So same era, same Script Saddleback, different hardware, different leather, different quality. It just doesn't make any sense. These two bags cost the exact same amount when you bought them, but if you won the lottery and you got a great bag, or you lost the lottery and got the first bag that I had. The interior of this bag is a little bit different. This one is the slick pigskin lining, which means that this one is slightly older than the previous bag I had. But it still has the same qualities to it, which is it's lined all the way down to the bottom and also along the front panel here. It has two of the larger holes here. These pockets are a little bit more well used, so you see they collapse down unlike the previous one where they were really as soft and pliable. That's more just over time in usage. The bags start to gain that characteristic. You start to notice that even after these start to become more pliable, the front also collapses a little bit more, and you continue to have that loss of negative potential space. You know, just looking at the front pocket, you feel as if you can't actually fit anything in it, even though the front gusset is the size of the rear gusset, and you could actually fit a lot in there. It just doesn't seem like you can. It comes with the same leash for a keychain with a nice little clip system here. And along the outside of the bag, you have the same 2 pockets. So you have one pocket here and one pocket over in the other side for you to carry umbrellas, water, whatever you may need. And you can see over time, as this pocket has become more pliable and flexible and been used more, it becomes a lot more floppy. So as these bags start to get used, what is the characteristics? How do they start to age? How do they age? How do they look when they age? So you can see with this bag, after a prolonged period of usage, this back gusset seems to collapse slightly more than the front gusset, giving the bag a little bit of a lopsided appearance where it constantly seems to be leaning forward. The reason that's the case is this back gusset by me is used a lot more. And that also means that when I actually use this back gusset is completely full. So actually it doesn't collapse because there's a lot of stuff back there, my laptops, my files, my folders, my papers, that helps support it up so it actually stands upright. This is just like a natural, I think, compensatory mechanism from the leather when it is empty. You have the same 2 side straps here. And I think most people keep them up with it tucked underneath a little bit because it's just really annoying to unbuckle 3 belts, but it gives it that beautiful look that Saddleback is known for. The handle is the same. Difficult to get under. I tend to avoid using this particular handle because I find my wedding ring just constantly gets caught on this leather strap here that holds the O-ring in place, that whenever I reach underneath, I just have to like kind of force my hand through to get my ring underneath that, and I find that kind of frustrating. The back rear pocket here gives you a good example of the patina that builds on a dark coffee brown. So there was a lot of concern with the new plasticized leather that patina wouldn't build well. I can't say for sure with the very, very plasticized leathers, but I can say with these kind of era of partial plasticization that it builds patina extremely well. If you look here, it's absolutely beautiful. You can see some of the scratches it's picked up along the way and some of the natural stretch marks inside the leather. You can, again, not fit a whole sheet of paper back here, so if you put a full piece of paper, the top kind of slides over the top of the protected area for the newspaper pocket or magazine pocket, which means that gets crumpled, and I find that kind of frustrating, but I still continue to use this bag despite that. You can see on these guskets here kind of what happens as the leather starts to age. You can see it builds this beautiful soft characteristic to it, and I absolutely love that. You can see in this particular bag there's degrees of kind of break-in of the leather, where this back gusset along with the pockets are far more broken in than the front gusset is. So you can kind of see what will happen over time as this bag starts to age. Along the bottom here, because of the way I use my bag, you can see this front panel has kind of folded under itself a little bit here. It's kind of frustrating and a little bit annoying, and I think it adds a little bit to the list that the bag has of folding forward, but it's just kind of a natural thing. As you use your bags more, you will notice that they all kind of start to break in the same way, and probably has something more to do with how you load your bags and how you use your bags daily than it does with the actual design, because you can see them online. They all kind of age in a different manner. So this bag itself has held up really well. It is one that I think is the perfect example of what Dave probably wanted to accomplish in his script era DCB bags. And unfortunately, the first bag I got was not what he was hoping to create, but also one that, despite the 100-year warranty, they felt was completely fine because it still functionally worked. I'd argue that the reason we buy Saddleback goes beyond the warranty and the functional usage. Huge part of it comes down to the beauty of the bag and how it looks and how it feels and how it smells and how you use it. And those little pieces like the glossiness of the leather, the center strap, not having cracks in the leather, not having separation of the leather, the hardware not scratching you and not having, the well points start to break down and catch on your clothes. These tiny little details are why you pay $700 some for this bag. Has nothing to do with how long the bag is going to last. Because if you truly wanted a bag that lasted a long time, you could easily afford a canvas bag that would do just as well and be a fraction of the cost. You buy leather specifically because you love leather. So this has been my video review of a good example of a script era dark coffee bound large classic briefcase. Stay tuned. You'll start to see more reviews of my leather collection as time goes on. It appears that people really enjoy these videos, so I'll try to put them out a little bit more regularly and break out parts of my collection so everyone can enjoy it.